Hey everyone, welcome to my first ever pocket options live trading video, sorry. Today I'll be running you through some setups that I have as well as some indicators just to sort of give you some rundown on how I trade and what I use to ensure certainty with regard to trades. I'm using the pocket option platform. If you would like to sort of get involved and see a demo of it, the link is in the description below. But I just wanted to run you through a couple of things before we get into the actual trading itself. I have a live balance of $50, just as you can see on the top right. And the indicators I'll go through now. So we've got the Bollinger Bands set up on the period of 20 and the deviation of 2. I've just got the style set up here, as you can see. But I just want to run you through what Bollinger's bands actually are. So the top band indicates where the market is in a condition where there is some resistance and there is some overbought conditions. This means that from this line, there can either be a sort of reversal or there can be a breakout trend. To supplement this, we have a couple of indicators below here. So the stochastic oscillator, which also indicates overbought conditions and undersold conditions as well. So when the sort of lines match up, so for example here, and where the stochastic oscillator crosses the top line, that is when you would do a lower option or a put option. Similarly, where the breakout is below on the green line and the matches the stochastic oscillator, that is when you do a call option. To supplement this and to give more certainty, we have the CCI at 20 and the RSI, which also imitates and shows the relative strength index of the trading volume. The middle line for the Bollinger Band is actually to show the moving average of the actual graph and the trader, which the pair at which you're trading, and that is what we're going to use today. I have a zigzag on as well, just so I can get some indication as to what the market's doing, and then count the channels as well, just because there is a lot more certainty with regard to the type of trade that you want to do. So I'm going to set this on the OTC markets because we're on USD Ruble at 30 seconds, just because it gives a bit more certainty. And I can see here that there is a sort of line here where the support has been met. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a higher call here. And what will eventually happen is that this will shoot up and it will go from this support line here. So let me just try and draw it for you. So this horizontal line here is where the support is, and eventually this will enter into a profit. The market is a bit slow. Today is Friday, so I'm not expecting too much or too heavy volume. But what we can see here is that has actually turned into a profit, and our balance is now 96 USD. I'm going to run through some other graphs just to see if there is any conditions at which it could be an optimal entry, and then I'll get back to you when I found one. So just having a look through some OTC stocks, I can see that Visa here is following sort of the same trend pattern. So I might go ahead and put a trade upon that just so I can get involved and make advantage of the patterns and the indicators. We can see that there might be a slight sort of movement in terms of going upwards and breaking that top Bollinger Band and that top count in the channel, which it hasn't done as of yet. But I believe it will be a great time to do an actual option lower here. So we're going to put that $50 down here, and we're going to go and see it through. This is on the Visa OTC within the stocks section. I'm still trading with the 50 and not going all in because it carries bigger risk, and I'd rather have some sort of leverage behind that I can build off of if a trade does go wrong. But we're coming up to the end of the trade. There's 5 seconds left, and this is going to actually be a profit. So now we're from 50 to 142. But I'm following the same sort of trends in the pattern, so you can see here that there is a breakout and it comes towards the top of the Keltner channel, and that is sort of the main indication to take. This obviously doesn't work when there is a breakout pattern, and that can go beyond the realms of what it's there, but that's just to show you an example. The graph is also on sort of 1 minute, and just go by the indicators and what we're going to use. I'll come back to you when there is another trade or another entry available. So with regard to this pattern here, we can see that it has crossed the conditions below the line on each of the indicators here. So this would be a primary reason, as well as the Keltner channels, to do a option to call for a higher call in regard to this. Generally speaking, when the trend does break out, it's important to have a consideration with regard to sort of the time frames and key indicators that we are going through. But generally speaking, once your indicators line up and once the graph is showing some positive signs, that is an option for you to consider and to get involved into. We're just going to wait this out and see what happens. So that you can see there was an example of a very risky trade. We did manage to profit off of that, as you can see from the sides here. So we did win that trade, but by the margin here, as it shows, it was only a difference of 2 points. So that was definitely a more risky option. In this regard, what we would consider to do is to raise the expiration time from 1 minute to 3 minutes, just to ensure a bit more certainty. But obviously you need to have consideration with regard to that and only invest the amount that you're that you're willing to lose. I'll come back to you for one last trade to hopefully get this balance over 200, and then we'll go from there. So what I'm going to do for this one is I'm going to trade on a reversal, because we can see that there's a strong downward trend. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place a put option here, because we can see from here, I'm just trying to draw some lines for you. Sort of the trend line here shows that from this point here to sort of this point here, there's a strong downward trend, and that is sort of evident by the fact that it has gotten close to the lower end of the Bollinger, but hasn't crossed it, for example, and that sort of the conditions here are marked. We did manage to win that deal as and when I was speaking, but it's important to have consideration to the actual graph itself, and when there is a crossover, there more than is likely going to be a actual sort of upward trend from that direction. That trade was close as well, but generally speaking, if you have the indicators set up and you can view sort of the support and resistance lines, as you can see here, there was a line here from this point here to this point here. It was automatically going to bounce off of that in this scenario. However, we've sort of made the profit that I wanted for today, and this was just sort of my first introduction to it. I know this video can be a bit choppy and it's a bit sort of long as it is, but I just wanted to sort of get involved and to share some of my sort of ways in which I'm using the platform and give you some insight into it. As always, please leave any feedback, and if you do want to get involved and try out on the demo account, you can do. They'll give you $10,000 which you can top up, and you can play around and see what works for you and get involved and use some of the signals and the strategies. But that's it for my first one. I'll come back to you when I have another one, and hopefully we'll go for some bigger profits next time. Take care, everyone.